Now, can a mid-sized city rebuild itself in such a way that it promotes healthier living at a time of economic distress? That question is very much on the minds of citizens in one Texas community. NewsHour health correspondent Betty Ann Bowser has the story.
Galveston Island, Texas is one of those American coastal cities that gets clobbered by hurricanes. In fact, there have been 11 in a little over 100 years. The last big one, Hurricane Ike, hit in 2008. And 3 years later, you don't have to look very far to see the havoc it created. So once again, Galveston is rebuilding. But this time around, some residents want to do it in a way no city has tried before. They want to make Galveston a healthier place to live. Longtime resident Betty Massey is the current head of the island's rebuilding committee. In the days after Ike, she said she had an aha moment.
It wasn't good enough to just go back the way we were. That wasn't what we wanted to do. We wanted to have some vision for our community.
Massey's vision is a city that builds structures that encourage exercise and make it easier for residents to get healthy food. Those lofty goals have been endorsed by the Centers for Disease Control, the Institute of Medicine, and a growing body of evidence that shows things like bike paths, sidewalks, and grocery stores can make a difference in health outcomes. Some island residents think that's all just a bunch of talk, but not Betty Massey.
It's no more pie in the sky to rebuild a community with a healthier infrastructure than it is the hardscape. It's no more pie in the sky to do that than it is for a town like Galveston to build higher, to stronger wind codes, to more wind and flood resistant buildings. So let's build a community that is also more resilient, more sustainable.
But that is the community of most concern for us.
Lexi Nolan is director of the Center to Eliminate Health Disparities at the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston.
Well, what this map outlines is every place that you can buy food on the island. So restaurants, even bars.
She and her colleagues are using a computer-generated mapping system to identify unhealthy areas of the city.
We've identified a number of indicators that are related to community health. What is it in a neighborhood that helps to make that community healthier or less healthy? One indicator, for instance, is access to healthy foods. We know that when people have access to nutritious foods, affordable foods, that they tend to have better diets.
Nolan has spent a lot of time focusing on neighborhoods like this one and what she thinks it needs.
A park for kids, a recreation center, a senior center. Elderly adults need a place to come together, congregate, have fun, stay physically active. We need places where people have opportunities to work. Economic development is a critical component of creating a healthy neighborhood.
One of the island's business leaders has no problem with building healthy neighborhoods. But Jeff Sostrom, who runs Galveston's Economic Development Partnerships, says a lot of business people are concerned about where they fit in to the picture.
I think businesses in general are concerned about the overall economy, period. There are a lot of challenges that we've confronted as a community over the last 2 or 3 years, from natural disasters and hurricanes. So at the end of the day, everybody wants to know where's the money, who's going to pay for it, who's going to be responsible for it.
In parts of the country where community leaders have brought grocery stores into food desert areas, they've relied on millions of dollars from public-private partnerships to lure food companies into neighborhoods. In Galveston, no such partnerships exist, and there is no funding to even develop a plan for grocery stores or transportation upgrades. And there are other problems. Texas A&M marine scientist Sam Brody, who studied barrier islands like Galveston, says the sandbar the city sits on is constantly moving. And with its vulnerability to hurricanes, all this rebuilding with health in mind could be washed away the next time a major storm comes through.
But a barrier island is a moving target. So think about trying to develop a sustainable, resilient community for generations on a moving target. That's extremely difficult to do. And then throw in politics, economics, the national economy, and some very important strategic and historic assets the island holds, you create a storm of its own.
But some residents say no matter how difficult, change must come. In some neighborhoods, there are no supermarkets, only mom and pop convenience stores that sell junk food and liquor at inflated prices. Earl Williams lives in one of those areas. He spent all 44 years of his life here, and even though he loves it, he admits living here is tough. For a loaf of bread, Williams can walk to the corner convenience store. But getting fresh groceries, that's something else. Since the Williams do not have a car and there are no direct bus lines, we volunteered to pay for a cab and asked to follow along on the 6.5-mile drive to the nearest grocery store.
My cab fare is normally around $15 total. That's one way going there, and then $15 coming back. So every time I go, that's $30 that I'm spending on a cab just to go and get food for the house, and that's not including putting food up and all of that stuff. So, if we leave in the morning time at 9 o'clock, we would get back home probably around 2:30 or 3 o'clock, something like that. It takes up half the day.
By the time all of that's done, Williams' food allowance is shot, so he would be thrilled to see a new grocery store close by.
Oh, I would love that. I would love it. Then I wouldn't have to instead of spending money on cab, I can buy more food.
Nurse practitioner Kate Fiant thinks access to a good grocery store would go a long way to improving the health of her patients at a clinic funded by the university in a low-income area.
They're working poor with major health problems, diabetes. 30+% are diabetic, 50% have hypertension. Very chronic, very, very ill, the sickest population I've ever seen in primary care. If we can invest money in keeping these people healthier, not healthy necessarily, but healthier, better lifestyles, more active, better control of their diabetes, less likely to get diabetes, better control of their blood pressure, then they're not going to become more ill. So just on a very pragmatic level, you get a return on your investment.
Economist and school board member Norman Papoose isn't so sure about that. He sees significant obstacles to making people healthier, especially in low-income areas.
I think they're barking up the wrong tree. When they basically want to come and create a utopia on a few square blocks of downtown Galveston, that is something that they are hoping is going to work, and they're using our tax money to do it. I think there's a high probability it's wasted money.
And Papoose has even more doubts about current plans to build mixed-income housing on the same lots where public housing once stood before Ike.
They are not areas of high opportunity, and they are areas of a heavy concentration of unemployment and poverty.
UTMB's Lexi Nolan knows there are big challenges ahead as she tries to convince city leaders to adopt a new mindset about rebuilding.
What we're asking is that they look into what the health implications of their decisions are and take that into account when they make a decision. It's reasonable to say that a health decision is not going to win the day every single time. There are lots of other reasons why we make the decisions that we do. Sometimes they're economic, sometimes they're political, but what we do expect is that information be considered in the mix.
What eventually happens here will be determined by a number of different government agencies, with the Galveston City Council ultimately calling most of the shots. But however it turns out, health policy people will be watching. No city has ever tried such big ideas before.